Ladies and gentlemen, friends and wise elders in the room, let us begin with a simple question. How many of you have a bottle of castor oil tucked away in a cabinet, believing it's a miracle remedy handed down through generations? You are not alone. For centuries, castor oil has been praised in folk medicine, whispered through herbal traditions, and passed lovingly from grandmother to mother to daughter. But just as a sharp knife can slice fruit or injure a hand, even a healing oil can cause harm when used the wrong way. In the early hours of morning, when silence still lingers in the air and the world is not yet busy with its distractions, one can sense the wisdom of nature whispering softly. There is clarity in that stillness, just as there is clarity in understanding how we treat our own bodies. The older we become, the more vital this understanding becomes, not because we are weaker, but because the margin for error grows thinner. One area where this balance is often lost is in the use of traditional remedies. Castor oil is one of them. There is a belief passed through generations that something natural cannot harm, that if it comes from a plant, it must bring healing. This belief, though rooted in trust, lacks the discipline of discernment. Especially in our later years, it is not the remedy that matters most, it is the relationship we develop with that remedy. The first mistake, then, is to assume that more is better. But nature itself teaches us otherwise. A small seed, given the right conditions, grows into a mighty tree, but flood it with too much water, and it will drown. The sun nourishes, yet stare at it too long, and the eyes will suffer. So why do we think the body, already shaped by time and experience, can bear the burden of excess without consequence? There was once an elder who lived in a mountain village, known for her glowing skin even in her 70s. People would travel to her to ask for her secret. With a warm smile, she would lift a tiny wooden spoon and say, "Balance." She explained that she used castor oil once a week, no more than a teaspoon, always in the evening, always with prayer. She never bathed herself in it. She never forced it on her skin like armor. Her secret was not in the oil, it was in the restraint. When castor oil is used excessively, especially by seniors whose skin has thinned and whose pores no longer behave like they once did, the effects are not always kind. The oil is thick, heavy, penetrating. It does not evaporate like water. It lingers, it clogs, and when used too frequently, it creates a suffocating environment for the skin to breathe. Many elders, desiring rejuvenation, end up with the opposite: rashes, dryness, even swelling. The problem was never the oil, it was the assumption that more would speed up the healing. Discipline lies not in force, but in sensitivity. And sensitivity comes from listening not just to others, but to our own body. Every cell, every inch of our skin, carries a memory of what it has endured. Scars, wrinkles, moles, they are not imperfections, they are stories. And when applying something like castor oil, we must ask, is this a time to nourish, or is this a time to rest? Is this sensation pleasant, or is it a quiet sign of irritation? Wisdom arises not from knowledge alone, but from awareness in action. Now consider the method of application itself. The second mistake is not in the quantity of oil, but in the lack of preparation. Just as a martial artist never enters battle without stretching the body, so too must one prepare the skin before introducing such a powerful substance. To take cold, unsoftened skin and suddenly drench it with castor oil is to startle it, like waking a person from deep sleep by shaking them violently. There is no harmony in such an approach. Before applying any oil, especially one as potent as castor, warmth is essential, not just in the oil, but in the skin. A warm cloth gently placed over the face or body opens the pores. It allows the oil to enter with less resistance. In this way, the process becomes like a respectful conversation between the external and the internal. Without that warmth, without that invitation, the oil sits heavy, rejected by the skin's natural defenses. The result: congestion, irritation, imbalance. There is a deeper layer to this mistake. Many elders apply castor oil with the same hand they use for other tasks without mindfulness. But healing is not mechanical. It is a form of communication. When applying oil, let the hands move with intention. Breathe slowly. Let the mind quiet. Focus on the texture of the skin, the feeling of the oil, the response of the body. In this ritual, healing becomes more than physical. It becomes spiritual. And yet many skip these steps. They rush. They apply oil in the middle of the day, under the heat of the sun, or before going out. They leave it on for hours, assuming longer means deeper effect. But in reality, the skin begins to resist. It becomes irritated, overwhelmed, rebellious. In younger bodies, this mistake may be forgiven, but in older ones, the price is steeper. A woman once shared how she used castor oil on her arms every night without fail. At first it softened her skin, but after 3 months, red patches began to form. She thought it was detoxification. So, she continued. The patches became itchy, dry, inflamed. When she finally stopped, it took another 3 months for her skin to settle. She learned what many forget. The body is wise, and when it whispers discomfort, it is not weakness, it is a warning. Proper application also requires understanding which areas are safe and which are not. The face, for instance, is sacred ground. It reflects our thoughts, our feelings, our age. And yet, Many smear castor oil across the cheeks, under the eyes, even on the eyelids, forgetting that the skin there is as thin as silk. Without dilution, this act can cause puffiness, irritation, and long-term dullness. A safer approach is to blend castor oil with another, lighter oil like almond, grapeseed, or ho. This mixture reduces the intensity, making it suitable even for fragile areas. The blend should be applied in moderations, small, circular motions, never forced, never rubbed aggressively, and it should be removed after a short while, not left overnight unless advised by someone with true understanding of the skin's needs. The problem is not castor oil, it is the relationship we have built with it. We treat it like a miracle, forgetting that even miracles require the right conditions to flourish. Fire can warm the home or burn it down. Water can nourish a crop or drown it. Castor oil can heal, but only in the hands of one who moves with patience, humility, and respect. As one wise man once said, the slower the stream, the deeper the reflection. Let us not rush to heal, for healing is not a race. It is a journey back to harmony. In every drop of oil, there is potential, but that potential only reveals itself when we are ready to meet it with the right spirit. When the body is aging, it does not ask for force. It asks for gentleness, not indulgence, not negligence, but attentiveness. Let that be the lesson in how we use remedies like castor oil. Let it be a practice, not a habit, a choice made in stillness, not in urgency. The journey of using natural remedies, then, is not about becoming dependent on them. It is about awakening the awareness to use them wisely. The mistake is not in the remedy, it is in the haste. It is in the assumption, it is in the forgetting that every action, every choice, has an echo inside the body. Let us walk with care. Let us treat every ritual of health with the respect it deserves. The body, after all, is not a machine. It is a temple, and every temple, to stand strong, must be treated with both reverence and understanding. There is something sacred about the skin. It is not merely a covering for the body. It is a reflection of our internal world. It speaks without words. It reveals when we are tired, when we are nourished, when we are wounded. And with age, its language becomes more subtle, more sensitive. Just as a young tree bends in the wind while an older one becomes brittle, the skin in later years no longer responds the same way it once did. That is why careless use of substances, no matter how natural they are, can leave lasting imprints. This is especially true with something as potent as castor oil. That there is a story of an old farmer who once nurtured his orchard with great devotion. He knew every tree by touch. When the trees were young, he would water them generously, but as they matured, he changed his method. He watered less, pruned more gently, and paid attention to the quiet signs like a slight droop in the leaves or a change in the bark's texture. His neighbor, seeing the lushness of the trees, tried to imitate his care but used the same heavy watering techniques on his older trees. Within months, the roots began to rot. The wisdom the farmer carried was simple. What works in youth becomes dangerous with age if we don't adjust. In the same way, many seniors unknowingly apply castor oil directly to areas of the skin that are already compromised: dry patches, sun-damaged regions, thin folds. But the nature of aging skin is different. It has lost much of its natural fat cushion, its collagen support, and its resilience to environmental exposure. The skin doesn't cry out when harmed, it whispers. A faint redness here, a dry itch there, a darkening tone that slowly spreads. These are not signs of improvement. These are early warnings. The oil, being heavy and slow to absorb, does not just rest on the surface. It seeps in. On healthy skin, this can be therapeutic, but on already stressed skin, the result is the opposite. Castor oil can trap heat. It can hold in moisture, but it can also trap bacteria. On healing wounds or rashes, this environment is not nourishing, it becomes suffocating. The skin begins to react not from what was missing, but from what was given in excess. There was an elderly woman who began using castor oil daily on a patch of her chest that had become rough from years of sun exposure. She believed it would fade the darkness and soften the texture. At first it felt soothing, but as weeks passed she noticed the area becoming darker, more uneven. She thought this was a sign the oil was drawing out impurities, and so she continued. By the third month, that area had lost its natural tone, and the texture had become thin and leathery. When asked why she didn't stop earlier, she replied, "Because I thought pain was part of the healing." This is a misunderstanding many carry, that discomfort must mean it's working. But true healing is not violent, it is gentle. Just as flowers bloom in silence, real change in the body happens through balance, not pressure. In older age, the skin's outermost barrier, the layer responsible for protection and moisture regulation, is more fragile. When this barrier is disrupted, even slightly, it takes longer to repair. If castor oil is applied repeatedly without allowing the skin to breathe, that barrier begins to weaken. The oil becomes less of a help and more of a stressor. What follows can be long-term sensitivity, uneven pigmentation, or even allergic reactions that the skin never knew before. Understanding when not to use something is as valuable as knowing when to use it. And this brings us to the body's internal terrain, where even greater caution is required. Many seniors remember a time when castor oil was used as a household cure for constipation or stomach discomfort. It was given with confidence, sometimes mixed with juice, sometimes straight from the spoon, and for many it seemed to work, but that was then. The terrain of the aging body is no longer the same. Imagine a dry riverbed. In youth, the river is full and flowing, able to carry large waves without trouble. But with time, the water thins, and even a small surge can cause erosion. The digestive system is no different. In youth, it is resilient. In older age, it is more prone to imbalance. When a strong laxative like castor oil is introduced to this internal system, the reaction may be too intense. Castor oil works by stimulating the intestines, forcing them to contract more forcefully. But the stimulation is not always welcomed. By an older gut, it can cause severe cramping, sudden dehydration, or even a dangerous shift in electrolytes. Many seniors, unaware of this, take it when feeling bloated or sluggish, believing it to be safer than pills. They do not realize that while the bowels may be emptied, the toll it takes on the rest of the body is quiet but severe. There was an old man in a small village who took castor oil every Sunday evening. He believed it was his way of cleaning out the system. For decades it became his ritual, but as he reached his late 70s, he began to feel faint after each use. His legs felt weaker, his mouth dry, his heart unsteady. The doctor later explained that the oil had caused severe drops in his potassium levels. What had once been a trusted friend became a hidden foe, not because it changed, but because his body did. The danger lies not in the substance but in the lack of context. Without medical guidance, taking castor oil internally in older age is like navigating a river with no map. It may seem smooth at first, but one wrong bend, and the current becomes unforgiving. The internal environment of the aging body must be treated like sacred ground. Every organ, every system, every function is delicately balanced. Using a powerful stimulant like castor oil without understanding its force is like lighting a fire in dry grass. It may serve the purpose for a moment, but it leaves behind more damage than warmth. Even more concerning is the idea of routine use. When the bowels become dependent on artificial stimulation, their natural rhythm weakens. What begins as an occasional remedy becomes a crutch. The body forgets how to move on its own. The dependency is not strength, it is surrender. To regain control, one must work with the body, not override it. In both external and internal use, castor oil demands respect, not fear, not avoidance, but deep informed respect. It is like handling a sacred blade. In the right hands it can heal. In the wrong context, it leaves a scar. The wiser path is always the quieter one. It listens before it acts, it studies before it applies, and it remembers that the goal is not just to treat symptoms, but to nourish the whole being. In later years, the body is not a battlefield to conquer, it is a landscape to preserve. Let the remedies we use reflect that care. When the skin speaks, we must listen. When the stomach resists, we must pause. Healing begins not with action, but with attention. Let every drop, every gesture, be guided by patience and presence. In that way, even the strongest medicine becomes a gentle companion, and every choice becomes part of a deeper harmony. So where do we go from here? Castor oil is not the villain. It still has many helpful uses, promoting hair growth on the scalp or softening hardened heels. But its power must be respected. As with all remedies, especially in our later years, the difference between medicine and poison is not always in the substance, but in how we use it. Let me leave you with a thought from an Eastern proverb: even 1,000-mile journey is taken one mindful step at a time. The same applies to caring for our bodies. Mindfulness in health is not just about what we use, but how, when, and why we use it. Every drop of castor oil should be used not in fear, but with understanding and care. Let wisdom guide your wellness, not trend, not habit, and certainly not guesswork. You've earned the right to age gracefully. Let your choices reflect that grace.